Hey everyone, hope you're having an amazing day. It's Mark Wiens. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, and today we're gonna go eat at what is the oldest continually operated restaurant in the United States. Since 1826, they've been serving classic, iconic New England food. When it comes to historical restaurants, this is the most historical possible restaurant you can eat at in the United States. I'm gonna do it Daniel Webster style, leaning. I'm gonna share with you all of the oysters, all of the seafood, everything coming up in this video right now. I just have to sit here for 1 second, the JFK booth where he sat. From downtown Boston, you walk down this cobblestone street and there's this little area full of just legendary, iconic restaurants, the oldest tavern in America. And then over on this side is the Union Oyster House, open since 1826. Again, it's the oldest continually operating restaurant in the United States. And the actual building is actually way older than the restaurant. It dates back to 1704. And so it's a privilege to have a chance to eat lunch here. And we're getting here right as they open, immediately as they're open. So we're gonna hopefully meet the chef and also see some of the cooking before we start eating. All right, here we go. Met up with Chef Rico, the head chef. He's gonna show us around the kitchen. He's gonna show us the dishes that we're ordering, some of the dishes that we're ordering, and we're gonna have an exclusive access to the kitchen to see the behind the scenes where your food comes from at the Union Oyster House. Chef Rico, can you tell me one more time how many seats does the restaurant have?
550 seats.
550 seats.
Made up of 5 small buildings and 9 dining rooms.
Wow.
Yeah, so like right now we're in the oldest building. So the clam chowder sits here.
Yeah. Wow, you can see how thick, how rich it is, and the chunkiness of those clams.
Yeah, we prefer it to be thick.
Wow.
Ready?
Yep. Another classic dish is the Boston baked beans.
Yes. Been serving these also since the 1800s. So this is classic with salt pork.
With salt pork, okay.
Molasses, brown sugar.
Wow. Those are 2 of the must-eat dishes when you come to Union Oyster House. You cannot come here without the chowder. And then Boston baked beans is another classic that you have to order. Butter goes on.
So this is how we do it.
So New England scrod, is it haddock?
It's actually cod.
It's cod, okay.
Haddock
in
is
the
a
butter.
different species. Butter, seasoned
okay.
crumbs. Goes right over here.
So this is cod fish.
And the reason I didn't was because it wasn't there.
Not really.
I'm going to put it back in the oven.
And how long does that cook for, Chef?
8 to 9 minutes.
All right. Yeah, intensity's starting to pick up. At what time does it really get busy here?
Yeah, about 10 more minutes.
So like 11:15, 11:30?
11:30 the actual spot.
All right, so we come out of the almost underground kitchen down
We
there.
call that first kitchen.
That's the first
It
kitchen?
was the original kitchen when the restaurant was built.
That was the original kitchen
Right.
too.
And this is called Sea Grill.
So that must be one of the oldest kitchens
Right, the equipment's not old.
in the United States too. Okay, yes, it's been
Yeah, we
updated.
modernized the kitchen.
Yeah.
As well as we modernized this kitchen as well. To start the mussel dish,
Oh, nice.
just a little bit of garlic butter. And then we'll come over here and we will take some chopped Bermuda onions. And we are starting out with a cold pan because we don't want to brown the onions. I wanted to basically get some caramelization and we use a hot pan. Over here I'll add my mussels. These mussels are actually from Maine when we were last.
Oh, okay.
These are Maine mussels. And these are cleaned mussels. We've already cleaned them. We've removed the beard from here.
Okay.
Scrubbed them down so you can see they're nice and shiny. We're going to add a little bit of broth here. And that's going to help them steam open a little bit. It's also going to add to the flavor of it.
All right.
So we'll get those started right here on the stove. We're going to add a little bit of white wine, just a little splash, and then we're going to cover them. so they can steam over. And that's just really to get them laid flat.
You can smell that garlic. You can smell that
Smell
broth.
the wine,
Yeah,
garlic.
the wine in there too.
You can see, we're just about ready.
Oh yeah.
All right, coming back up.
All right.
We're gonna check our garlic bread now. It should be
Okay.
ready.
Oh, and served with the garlic bread. Yes.
Okay. See, it's
Oh,
nice,
nice.
and bubbling.
Is there cheese on there too?
There's a little bit of cheese as well.
Okay. Mussels are ready.
All right.
Oh, then immediately open up that cover and you smell that white wine. Oh, and the onions in there too.
Yeah, and you can see how plump they are. Get the onions on top. Cover it.
All right.
And that's the finished dish.
Okay, great.
We're going to start with a cold pan, but we're using warm butter to get us started. So we're going to add in garlic, and we don't want the pan too hot because we don't want the garlic to just a perfume.
That garlic perfume.
A shrimp, peeled and deveined. And this dish will get 4 shrimp. And we also use fresh New England scallops. And then we'll go right back to the stove and do a quick saute on this. Get that to cook all over. Sun-dried tomato pesto.
Oh, that's so aromatic.
And we're going to add in some heavy cream. We're going to bring this up to a full boil.
Right. This is called the seared shrimp and scallops.
Yes.
That smells so good. The sun-dried tomato pesto, and then finishes that off with some heavy cream. It's going to reduce that down. The garlic. That smells amazing.
So we're going to start out with some rice. We're going to lay that right down the center of the plate. Now we're ready to pick up the order and plate. We'll use the rice as a way to display the seafood.
Okay. So rich. Thank you, Chef Rico. That scrod is ready.
Right here. We'll go right over to the plate.
Yep. Served with rice typically?
Yes, you can serve it with rice, French fries, and vegetable. And you just basically classic baby carrots with a little bit of an orange glaze. Finish with a piece of lemon, and a final touch, just a little sprinkle of fresh chopped parsley.
All right, thanks, man.
No problem. Head on over to the raw bar.
All right.
So this bar is actually original. It's been here since 1826.
This is the bar that Daniel Webster.
Daniel Webster.
sat at?
He actually stood at it. So the stools were added a little bit later. That's why
Okay.
there's a little bit of a slant to the bar. It was originally actually a leaning bar.
Ah.
But yeah, this is the original one. Back behind where they're shucking on is hand-carved soapstone. They've sealed it up with a cement epoxy to keep it together. But it's the original one from 1826. 195 years old. Busy day, they can do a few thousand oysters.
What type of oysters are these?
So
Are
we
these
get all our oysters local.
Okay.
We have multiple distributors, mainly Cape Cod, South Shore, Massachusetts, Beach Plum from Westport, Mass, Barnstable, and then we have some Barnstable from right in Mid-Cape.
All right.
Great arm workout.
Great arm workout.
workout.
Amazing. I know how hard it is.
I never have to go back to the gym if I do this 7 days a week.
You do a workout every day?
Yeah, just bang on the rock.
Thank you. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely got to see the other. One of the allures of the bar is because of the slants. We had to make a little wedge here.
Okay.
Keep the plate level.
Okay. What would be the classic New England way to eat an oyster?
Okay, if you're a purist, you use just lemon.
Oh, okay.
Lemon will just accentuate the briny flavor of the specific oyster. And since you live in Thailand,
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll like the horseradish.
Oh, I love horseradish. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Just a little squeeze of lemon.
Lemon.
Okay, here we go.
No.
First oyster at the Union Oyster House.
Alrighty.
Oh, wow. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it really
It's so
is.
fresh, yes.
It really is. You may want to try the put a little cocktail sauce.
A little
in
cocktail
one,
sauce? Okay.
And then let's do this.
Oh, man.
Just put a
So
little-
fresh.
All right, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
All right, there. Now try that.
Now try that one.
Yeah,
Hold the
this wants to
narrower
go
side.
in. Preferably this one.
Sliding and sloshing around. A little bit of the cocktail sauce, a little bit of horseradish on there, a sprinkle of the lemon. And I love horseradish.
Am I good? Yeah,
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, you like the little tangy
I
taste.
love-
Yeah.
Oh, that cocktail sauce, that just slides down so easily. The bite of the horseradish. Oh, it's refreshing. I love these oysters too. They're not too briny, but a really good balance. And for this next oyster, I'm gonna do it Daniel Webster style. Leaning. Absolutely incredible. I love that cocktail sauce is incredible. And that horseradish. So same toppings go on, some of that.
I said that. I thought you already in the restaurant.
Oh, I love that texture. It's a little more chewy than the oyster. So much flavor, not too salty. Oh yeah, that horseradish goes up your nose a little bit. It's almost like a little bit of a crunch because it's so fresh.
So over the years, this is the original part of the restaurant. We've expanded, grown, and absorbed buildings on either sides. Let me take you upstairs to the dining room.
So before we start eating, we're gonna do a little walkthrough. And again, I mean, not only, this is a living piece of history. It's a museum of a restaurant. So when you come here, it's just frozen in time.
So here we got some fun photos of pictures of the shuckers behind the oyster bar over the decades. It's pretty cool.
1905.
For facts about the place, if you look below, Rose Carey. She was the first ever waitress in Boston. She worked here at the Union Oyster House. The dining room. Original beams from the 1700s. This was the original dining room. He was one of the last kings of France. When he was exiled from France, he stayed in the United States, and when he was in Boston, he actually stayed up here on this top floor. So back when JFK was a senator, he would come in here every Sunday. This was his favorite booth. He'd sit down. He'd lay out all his newspapers, and he would get lobster stew.
I just have to sit here for 1 second. The JFK booth where he sat. May 1977. This was the favorite booth of John F. Kennedy when he dined at the Union Oyster House. Wow.
Another one of our dining rooms. It's got a lot of paintings that depict local Boston history. Daniel Webster, who I already spoke about earlier, who
Yes.
used to frequent the oyster bar downstairs. A
There he
famous
is.
order.
There he is at the oyster bar where we just sat.
He would come here and he would often have oysters with a tumbler of brandy and water. And the lore was he'd often have 6 or more plates,
Yes.
each with a tumbler of brandy too. Gave him some spirit for those speeches.
Yes, that'd be awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. So that was an amazing tour and the history, the unparalleled culinary history. It's fascinating and it's played such an important role in the history of the United States.
Here we go. We have our world famous clam chowder to start.
Thank you, Wesley.
You are welcome. On a busy day, we can sell 100 gallons of it. Next up, we have classic Boston scrod.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the scrod,
This
next
is one of
dish.
this is one of my favorite dishes we do here. It's the pan-seared shrimp and
Oh
scallops.
yeah, and thank you, Chef Rico.
Thank you.
Yep, very excited to start eating.
Dive right in.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you very much. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
It's mussels done Basque style. So what they do is they cook them in white wine, a whipped garlic butter with some shallots. Boston baked beans.
Thank you very much.
The
Perfect.
history behind this dish was actually that Boston was part of the triangle trade for molasses. So back in the day, molasses would be shipped up from the south, processed, refined, stored here in Boston, and then we'd ship it over to England. So we had an abundance of the product. So
Okay.
we started putting it into all our foods and everything. So we started making beans with molasses. And that style of beans became popular. They made it all over the country, and it was known as Boston baked beans. Hence Beantown.
Every food has a history too.
It does. We invented
like
America here in Boston.
Yeah,
be
well,
right back to
Boston
your
too.
oysters, guys.
Okay, thank you. Although I still have to begin with the chowder, the clam chowder, the classic, one of the greatest of all New England dishes, and it looks incredible. Oh wow. It's so good. It's so creamy. It's so thick. The flavor of the clams. It's really nicely balanced too. And even though it's really thick, it doesn't taste overly buttery or overly rich. It's a great balance. You can tell how warming it is, but I will add a little bit of pepper. I love my clam chowder with pepper. Comes with cornbread. You can taste that sweetness. It's thick, it's hearty, it's really nice and crumbly. That clam chowder, incredible. And I was reading that former President Obama, he ordered 10 bowls of the chowder to go. Here we
Star of
go.
the show.
Yes, there it
Freshest
is.
shucked oysters from Massachusetts.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that clam chowder is amazing.
Oh, it's the best. I
Yes.
think I put on 20 pounds when I started working here. Just chowder alone. And I'm not mad about it.
That's great. Yeah, it's
Anything else
amazing.
I can get for you guys at the
This is
moment?
perfect. Thank you so much.
Little trick is really good for you.
Okay, I'm gonna try those Boston baked beans next. Oh, that smoky, molassesy sweetness. It's so good, it's so rich, it's so sticky. And because the oysters just arrived, I gotta have a few more of these oysters, some of the best oysters ever. And I did have a small tray of oysters at the oyster bar, but this is the full set, a full dozen oysters. Oh, these are beauties. You take some of that horseradish. That horseradish is absolutely incredible. Dip it into that cocktail sauce, onto your oyster, and a squeeze of lemon. You can never get tired of these oysters, and I mean, that's what they built this restaurant is. This restaurant was founded upon oysters. It's so much flavor. It's so much freshness. I love that horseradish. The shrimp and the scallops in a cream. This is what we saw Chef Rico making. And then also, Wesley said this is his favorite dish here. So I cannot wait to try this as well. Over a bed of rice. Look at how rich and thick that sauce is. I'll try one of those scallops first. Oh wow, yeah, it's so rich, it's so creamy. You know what I really like in there? Is the flavor of those dried tomatoes made into a pesto. And that scallop just melts in your mouth. You taste the garlic in there, you taste the butter in there. The firmness of that shrimp. Next up for the scrod, which is cod. I'm gonna try a little bit of that fish first, and then we'll probably use some lime on it. Maybe with a carrot. It's just simple. So you taste the freshness of the cod. It just flakes apart. It's got that crunchy breadcrumb, buttery crust. And then that's just like straight up fresh fish. With that squeeze of lemon. Okay, let's try the mussels. Look at how orange they are. So orange. You see some of those onions in there. And let me just actually kind of stir it up because it has that broth on the bottom, plus that white wine sauce. Actually, I want to just rehydrate before we try this. Scoop it up. Scoop it up. Oh yeah. Mussels are incredible. Flavor of the onion, the flavor of that reduced white wine, the butter in there, the garlic, and then scoop in for that broth. That soup at the bottom. And another thing that you have to do with these mussels, you take a piece of the garlic bread on the bottom there, a little bit of cheese on there, there's garlic, there's butter, and then you dip it into that broth. And I'm gonna get another one of the mussels to chase after a bite. Chased by a mussel. That garlic bread, the butteriness of it, the gooiness, a little bit of cheese caramelized and crunchy on top. I gotta try one of the oysters with some Tabasco next time. This time, a little Tabasco, and I am gonna add on, I cannot resist the temptation with that horseradish. That's another winning combination. Dip that garlic bread in. One of the greatest moves you can do. Oh man, that rejuiced garlic bread. And we're gonna go now to Thailand. Mr. Joe Milano is taking us to Thailand. There's a Thailand room, I think somewhere within this building. Amazing. No idea where we are going, but it is a maze.
One in.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
welcome.
Yes, this is the Thailand Consulate.
This is the consulate for Thailand.
Whoa.
Design of the actual temple that is about 30 minutes outside of Boston.
I did notice before we came in, on the outside, I saw the Thai flag.
Thai flag, yeah.
And so
That's
at the
right.
top of the building, this is
So
where the
this
Thai
was
Consulate
this was
of Boston is. Go. Wow. Never would have known on the
Yeah,
top
no,
floor
when you
here
said the
of
thing-
Union Oyster
Well,
House.
When I saw Ying's name, and I knew she was Asian, and I said, then I went to Google you, and then I saw Phuket.
Oh yeah, she's from Krabi.
She
She's from
wasn't-
Krabi actually.
Okay.
Originally. Yep, she's from Krabi originally.
Anyway, I think I'm born in Phuket. It said Phuket birth and everything, and then I said, you're okay. You're right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Oh
you.
man, this is,
Thank you.
it's a privilege to be here, an absolute privilege. And to have the full tour, not only Union Oyster House, but
Well, you happen to
the Thai Consulate at the top.
kind of-
What an amazing culinary, historical, living piece of history, food, museum, and meal all in one. And so that's gonna be it for this video. Again, I wanna say a huge thank you to Mr. Joe Milano, to Wesley, to Chef Rico, all for showing me around and just amazing hospitality and service, and for sharing all of the history with me as well. Unchanged, frozen in time, a historical landmark. I want to say a huge thank you for watching. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're not already subscribed, remember to subscribe now for lots more food and travel videos. Goodbye from Boston, and I will see you on the next video.